Yeah, welcome guys. How you doing? Okay, today we're gonna talk about factoring quadratics. Hope you guys doing okay, safe out there, staying at home, being okay, having enough food, being safe, watching enough Netflix, and just hanging out, YouTubing again. Okay, so factoring quadratic. We continue on with our zero product property that you guys did last assignment. And this is going to play into it. I'm going to do a little bit about it. So factoring quadratics. This is a little warm up to help us with factoring quadratics. So two numbers that multiply to 18 and add to 9. So think about that. So two numbers that will multiply to 18 and add to 9. What are those two numbers? Think about it. So let's look at 18 first. So this is how we can get 18. So the more to multiply 18, we can get 1 times 18. But that doesn't add to 9, right? That's 19 if you add them together. Another one, 2 times 9. That would add to 11. But it's multiplied 18. Then you keep going. 3 times 6 is also 18. And that equals 9, right? 3 plus 6 equals 9. So your two numbers would be 3 and 6, right? 3 times 6 equals 18, and then 3 plus 6 equals 9, right? Multiply to 18, add to 9. So that's one example. That's another one. Okay, to multiply to 24, and I'm going to add to 10. So what are two numbers that multiply 24 and add to 10? So again, let's look at it. What's 2 times 20, or how do you multiply to 24, right? So 1 times 24, that doesn't add to 10. 2 times 12 doesn't add to 10. 3 times 8, that's 24. 4 times 6, and that is 10. Right, so 4 and 6. So it's 4 times 6 equals 24. 4 plus 6 equals 10. Right, so your two numbers would be 4 and 6. Okay, so why did we do that? Why did we do that? Okay, that's going to help us do factoring quadratics. Okay, so let's say you had, remember these problems right here? If you wanted to multiply two binomials, x plus 3 times x plus 6. And you want to multiply those two together. Right, so in order to multiply two binomials, we're going to distribute or use FOIL method, first outside, inside, last, or box method. Some different ways you guys do it, but we did rainbow. So we distribute it and do the rainbow maneuver. So we get x times x is x squared, x times 6 is 6x. And then we go to the next one, right? 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 6 is 18. Then we add those together, we get x squared. 6x and 3x add together, so that's 9x. 18 comes out, plus 18. And that's how we multiply it out. Now you can do the shortcut if you already saw it, right? So if we look at it, two numbers, 3 and 6. 3 times 6 equals 18. 3 plus 6 equals 9, right? So that's a shortcut. You multiply it to get 18 and you add it to get 9. So that's kind of how we did up here, right? Two numbers that multiply to a number and they add to another number. So this one's 3 and 6, right? 3 times 6, 18. 3 plus 6, 9. Okay, how is that going to help us? That's going to help us go backwards, which is called factoring. Okay, so we want to factor. Let's go backwards. Okay, we're going to factor our quadratic, which is x squared plus 9x plus 18. And we're going to go backwards. Okay, so our answer should be 2 parentheses. Right, and if we go backwards, we know it's going to be x plus 3x plus 6. Let's see how we can get that. So we look at first, so we can draw we look at these two numbers. 18, and 9. So the two numbers we're looking at. And what we can do is we can draw an x. Right, so this is the x factor. Okay, so we use the x factor to help us out. Okay, so this number here, we're gonna put in the top. 18. The number in the middle, we're gonna put in the bottom. This is 9 to help us out. Yeah, this is a method to help you. You don't have to do it this way. If you just figure two numbers that multiply 18 add to 9, you can just do it that way too. Okay, so this one, 18. So your two numbers are going to multiply. So 18, and they're going to add to 9. So multiply 18, add to 9. And we do the same thing, right? What are two numbers that multiply 18, add to 9? 118, no. 2 times 9, no. 3 times 6, yes. So our two numbers are going to be 3 and 6. Because they multiply to 18 and they add, right? They multiply to 18 and they add to 9. So our answer for factors are going to be x, and we're going to have positive 3 and positive 6. And that is our answer. Okay, so that's our factored form. X plus 3 times x plus 6. Move backward from what we just did, right? X plus 3, x plus 6, multiply it out, we get that. Start with this, we factor it, we get back to where we started. X plus 3, x plus 6, okay? So you want to do the factored and get to the factor form. I'll show you, so why is that important, right? So why do we need that? So in order to factor form gives us an opportunity to solve it, and that's going to help us graph it, okay? So like last time we did the zero product property with, so if we had x plus 3, x plus 6, and if we want to solve that, so if x plus 3 times x plus 6 equals 0, and to help us solve it, we will do the zero product method. Set each factor to 0, x plus 3 equals 0, x plus 6 equals 0 for using the zero product property. Then we're going to solve it, right? Minus 3 both sides. For the first one, you get x equals negative 3. Second one, minus 6 to both sides, x equals negative 6. So our answers will be x equals negative 3, x equals negative 6. And what does that tell us? Okay, that tells us if we graph it, we graph it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what the zeros tell us for negative 3, so there's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 6. So the zeros, or those x equals negative 3, x equals negative 6, tells us what the x-intercepts are. Right there. And then you can draw the parabola. It's going to look something like that, going through those two x-intercepts. So what solving factors will do for us, it'll give us these zeros so that we can graph the function. Also it gives us zeros so we can answer some word problems. So we had a problem where you have a ball coming off the clip. You can see, okay, how far does it go? So you can tell what distance it is, because that's your x-intercept right there. Or if it's time, and how long did it take to hit the ground? Right, that'll be your time. So those are x-intercepts are important. Help us to graph and also to help us solve word problems. Okay, so we want to factor. Okay, x squared minus 3x minus 18. So we have our quadratic. We're going to factor. We're going to start with the x, like an x factor. C on the top, negative 18. We put our b on the bottom, negative 3. And then we're going to find two factors. Then we're going to put here, then multiply to negative 18 and add to negative 3. You can have 1 times negative 18. That doesn't add to negative 3. 2 times negative 9. That doesn't add to negative 3. You could do 3 times negative 6. Wait, that does add to negative 3, right? So our two numbers are going to be 3 and negative 6. So our factored form, all it is parentheses x and an x, and our two numbers are going to be positive 3 and negative 6, and that's our factored form. Okay, that's all it's a factor. So figure out what number multiplies to negative 18 and add to negative 3. You find all these different options and go as far as you can until it adds to your number on the bottom. And just keep trying. If you go through all the factors, it'll always work. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, we want to factor, say, n squared minus 6n. Same process. We'll make our x, put our c number, but there's nothing out here, so it's 0. And then our b number, negative 6. So you're going to find two numbers that multiply to 0 and add to negative 6. Right, so in order to multiply by 0, it has to be something times 0. Right, so 0 times some number that's going to add to negative 6. So it has to be negative 6, right? So 0 times negative 6 equals 0, 0 times, or 0 plus negative 6 equals negative 6. So our number is 0, negative 6. So our factored form, so we have two factors, and now we're using n, right? So it's going to be n, and our two numbers are 0, negative 6. We have plus 0, minus 6, and you can simplify that to n times n minus 6, because n plus 0 is n. And then you can take away the parentheses for the first part, so n parentheses n minus 6. So that'll be our factored form when one of them is 0. Okay, another example. We have a squared plus 7a plus 10. And we want to factor this. Again, we start with our x. Right, put our c number 10 on the top, put our b number 7 on the bottom. We're going to find two factors that multiply to 10, add to 7. So let's go through our list. So 1 times 10 does not add to 7. 2 times 5 does add to 7. So our two numbers are 2 and 5. Because they multiply 10, add to 7. So our two factors. And now we're using a, right? So it'll be a, and our two numbers are going to be plus 2 and plus 5. And that's our factor form right there. So here's our factor form, our answer for that one. Okay, so let's do a couple examples. Let's do number 1. First one. Okay, factor each completely. So again, we start with our x. Put our c number on the top, our b number on the bottom. Two factors that multiply to 6, add to negative 7. So we can do 1 times 6, but that doesn't add to negative 7. Right? 2 times 3 does not add to negative 7. So we need to make it negatives, right? So we can have like negative 1 times negative 6, that adds to negative 7, that works. If we did negative 2 times negative 3, that would be negative 5, so that wouldn't work. So it has to be negative 1, negative 6. And then we're going to put it into our factors. And this one we're dealing with n, so n, whatever variable, you just put that variable in there. We have two factors, minus 1 and minus 6, and that's our answer. So n minus 1 times n minus 6, because it multiplies to positive 6 and add to negative 7. Okay, for number 3, same thing, do our x. Start with 4, put on the top, negative 5, put that on the bottom. Two factors are going to multiply to 4, add to negative 5. So 1 times 4, that doesn't work. It has to be negatives, right? So negative 1 times negative 4 So we have -1 and -4. So we put -1, -4. Then we put that in our factored form. So our 2 parentheses. Now we're using x, so x. And then we put it in our -1 and -4. So our factor form is x minus 1 times x minus 4. Now, so show your work, show your steps. Check your answers on the bottom when you get there. So eventually, I want you to get to where you can do it like a shortcut. If you can do it in your head, and you can figure out what the 2 numbers are, like multiply to 6, add to 7. What's the 2 numbers, right, in the factored form? What is multiply to -6, add to -5? Write it on your factor form, like that. Okay, so eventually you get to that, see if you can do it. Okay, guys, take care, guys. See you guys next time.